Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. Merry Christmas to everybody. If I don't get another video out prior to Christmas morning, hope everyone is doing well. I want to start off the video today by looking at Matthew chapter 24, and making some comments on the tribulation and the coming of the Son of Man, the rapture of the church. So if we zoom down here to verse 29 in Matthew chapter 24, it's well, to start off, the disciples, were asking, when will these things be? What will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And he talks about the abomination of desolation. He speaks of things that happened in 70 AD, the destruction of the temple, abomination of desolation, and the fleeing to the mountains. But this is the key as it relates to the last days before the wrath of God that comes upon the earth. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all tribes of the earth will mourn. Now, this is something that hasn't happened before. Has the sun been darkened yet? Has the moon not shone its light? Have the stars fallen from heaven, or appeared to have fallen from heaven? Not yet, in my understanding. Then the Son of Man will appear. Then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. Have all the tribes of the earth mourned yet? Not yet. And they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds. Now, this is coming on the clouds, not coming and standing on the Mount of Olives. Remember, this is return in the air. This is speaking of the rapture of the church, where not the second coming, but the rapture, where he gathers us up and takes us out of here. Son of Man coming with great power and glory, and he will send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds. So his elect, this is those who are saved in Jesus Christ. Do you know Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior? You need to get that figured out now, because it will be exponentially harder to find Jesus and to have faith in Jesus in the last days, as there will be great pressure on the faithful. And now is the time. Now it's quote unquote easy to find Jesus Christ. It will be hard going into the future. So he gathers this the angels do from one end to the other. Now it speaks about the parable of the fig tree, and this is speaking of Israel. And in 1948, they became a nation in a day, and they are blossoming as a nation. They are rich, they are powerful, and that's very prophetic. But no man knows the day or the hour, even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage, until that day Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. So, prior to Noah entering the ark, it had not rained on the earth. Prior to the flood of Noah, what happened was that there was heavy dews. The water came up from the earth and watered the plants, the gardens, etc. And so they didn't know what that was. It was only till he entered the ark that significant rain started falling. And up until that time, they were, marrying and giving in marriage. They were eating and drinking. They were doing everything just as normal until it was too late. And that's what it's going to be like for most people. Even though times are hard in the world, there may be world war going on. Generally speaking, things will be happening as normal as they always have through the centuries, even if that includes war, prior to the judgment of God and the taking out of his elect. And that's what's happening. And so expect things to truck along, for better, for worse, and for all intents and purposes, until the wrath of God. And this is what this is speaking of. And so no man knows the day or the hour. Did you know that particular phrase is a reference to Rosh Hashanah? It's the festival of the new moon, and there's a new moon that comes in, and two witnesses have to see the slice, have to see that first slice of the new moon. They have to agree on it, and it happens over a 48-hour period, a 2-day period. And that's why it's referred to in Jewish understanding as the festival where no man knows the day or the hour, because those two witnesses, they don't know. It could happen over a 2-day period. So Rosh Hashanah could very well be the timing of the rapture, and that's what I believe. That's a super high watch period for that. And when does Rosh Hashanah happen? At least for the Jews, well, it happens, the September, October time frame in the fall period. Now we're past that, and of course, that's going to happen, I believe, at the midpoint of that 7-year period spoken of in Daniel. And I have reasons for that, and I've gotten into that before. Let's take a look at some of the events that are going on. This is a zero hedge, and this is Harry Dent. It says, this is off the charts. Economist Harry Dent claims 2024 will bring the biggest crash of our lifetime. Now, he has said this before, but he sees what is coming down the pipe, and the Federal Reserve is able to, so far, kick the can down the road. And in 2008, it should have crashed. But it didn't, because they printed a lot of money and people didn't do anything about that. And so they got away with it. An economist who focuses on consumer spending has issued a dire warning about the U.S. economy in the coming year. I think 2024 is going to be the biggest crash since the biggest single crash year we'll see in our lifetime. And he says, things are not going to come back to normal in a few years. We may never see these levels again. This crash is not going to be a correction, he says. It's going to be more in the 1929 to 1932 level, and anybody who sat through that would have shot their stockbroker, Mr. Dent, so Harry Dent, making references to the stock market crash in 1929 that led to the Great Depression throughout the 1930s. I suspect that this crash will happen. They will bring in a new world currency to fix it. They will say, look, the only way we can fix this thing is to bring in a digital economic system, and that will, in effect, alleviate the pain to kick the can further down the road, although there will still be a lot of trouble in that switch over to the new digital currency. But they will gain some sort of stability where the world government can come in and claim control and, again, kick that can down the road and get that switched over to a digital currency. So I think it's going to be interesting. Are we going to go through another Great Depression? I think the world government is going to come in and pull some strings, and it's going to be hard for a lot of us, but we're going to get through it. I don't think it's going to be as bad as that, as the government kind of consolidates power and says, look, we're going to take your land, we're going to take your house, and you're not going to own anything, but we're going to give you food. So they're going to take all that wealth, consolidate it to themselves, and provide you, a universal basic income, whatever it may be. So to you, it doesn't feel like, you've lost anything. Maybe you have food on the table, but you've lost all sort of, all of your own wealth and all ability to create your own wealth during that time. So interesting time to think about. This is a warning to you about hackers, cyber attacks. Chinese affiliated hacking groups infiltrated critical American infrastructure, including Hawaii water utility and at least one oil and gas pipeline. We spoke about this over the last 12 months. Hackers and cyber attacks on the pipeline in the U.S. and various things. The basic indication that and confirmation by security services that there are Chinese hackers in these things basically just is a confirmation that they've been in there probably for years, to be absolutely honest with you. And they're probably they have probably infiltrated far more industries and equipment and industrial computer automation systems than these intelligence agencies are giving us any clue into. They are probably all over this, and they are probably just waiting for the right time to pull the trigger. They're not going to do, bits and bobs hacking here and there right now. They don't want to give up their position. If they've got a virus, if they got control of a system, if they've gotten entry to, a nuclear power plant computer system, they're not going to go and exploit that right now. They're not going to make use of that right now. They're going to wait for when the time is right. They don't want to reveal their position. The Chinese hackers, whomever it is, nation state actors, they're not going to give away that they have access. So they're going to hold on to that. They're going to keep it secret. So the intelligence agencies don't even know what they have their fingers in right now. Very likely, if you have any internet connected device, a router, any computer systems, anything that's not air gapped, and air gapped means there are no wires or and no Wi-Fi, actually, no Wi-Fi going to the internet. Unless there is no Wi-Fi at all going to that device, hackers can very likely easily get into whatever electronics you have, and that includes security cameras, computer systems, Wi-Fi routers, any internet-connected device, TVs, cell phones, fridges, whatever you have that has a connection to the internet will be compromised at that point in time. So just be aware of how technology is invading your life, and it's everywhere. If you have a Nest thermostat, for example, an internet-connected thermostat, they can control it, and it can be hacked. And it will be hacked. When the internet goes down, none of those devices work. And I think that's what's going to happen. There's going to be this great big cyber pandemic. And this is what Klaus Schwab spoke about. And he said there's going to be a pandemic of cyber of viruses, computer viruses. And they're going to have to shut down the internet. What happens when they shut down the internet? Your Nest thermostat won't work anymore. You won't be able to control it. You won't be able to access things. When the internet goes down, you will quickly find out all of the electronics in your systems, all the control devices you were controlling with your phone and with your iPad and your smart devices. You will all of a sudden find out that, oops, they can't be controlled manually. There's no way. They need to connect back to the mothership, back to their company, the cloud servers, whatever it may be, to work at all. This is why you should have old-fashioned mercury thermostats and old-fashioned fridges and old-fashioned devices for operating anything in your house, because when this goes sideways, folks, everything's going to go down, and it will be Mad Max when they can't heat their homes, when they can't cook their food. Get a propane stove. Don't get a fancy new electric stove with a computer chip in it, internet connected, whatever it may be. Even though it's easy to control with your cell phone, if it's easier for you to control electronically through your cell phone, through your smart device, then it's easy for any nation state or internal, secret service agency to hack into and to make use of. This is interesting. Martial law in Poland. They're going back to a communist society. This is the way the whole world will go, folks. When the world government comes into play, they will go effectively communist. There will be martial law. They will lock down any sort of free speech. You won't be able to do it in the name of, liberalism and in the name of protecting people from hate speech and bigoted people. But Poland's public television news stations went off the air as police conducted massive raids, with fears becoming realized that Prime Minister Donald Tusk would move quickly to crack down on press freedoms once he assumed power. So Poland, it was a communist state, and it is a communist state now, and they're showing that. They're taking these news agencies off the air. They will start jailing politicians for what they say. It is now martial law. PIS politicians compared the action to the introduction of martial law in Poland in 1981, in the sense that the government then also shut down TV programs and dismissed scores of journalists. Were we shut down for free speech during the pandemic? Yes. Could you talk about ivermectin or any alternative thing to the narrative During the pandemic, we were not able to. Folks, we effectively live in a government-controlled society, very much. And that's what we voted for over the last 100 years. We voted for more and more government. We voted for more and more healthcare. We voted for more and more security. But what do we do when we voted for more and more security and healthcare and handouts? Well, we voted for less and less freedoms, less and less ability to choose on our own what we're going to do. We voted for that, folks. This is my fault. This is your fault. We all voted for bigger government. And what does bigger government do? It cracks down on, ultimately, our freedoms. And some people like that. Some people would rather have safety than have more freedom. But that's very short-sighted. So, folks, kind of full circle. We will see, we are living in tribulation. And that's noted by Matthew chapter 24, verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation, this describes a time that we will be living in a period of tribulation. We will all be there before the wrath of God comes. The wrath of God comes when the sun was darkened and the moon doesn't give its light. You can read Revelation chapter 12 to see the distinction between the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which bring economic collapse, famine, pestilence, and world wars. And then later on in the chapter, verse 12, 13, where the sun is darkened, the moon doesn't give its light, and the stars fall from heaven. So this is the distinction between the tribulation and the great tribulation. The four horsemen of the apocalypse come during the tribulation, or the first half of that 7-year period. So thanks for watching. That's my understanding, and let me know in the comments what you think.